The paradox of Buddhism, a religion beyond religion. In a world full of doctrines, creeds, and divine commandments, Buddhism walks a different path, a quiet, humble trail through the forests of the mind. It's not a path that demands faith, but one that invites you to look. To look inward. To look deeply. And in that looking, something shifts, not as a conversion, but as a recognition of something ancient that was always inside. Many people ask, is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? But perhaps that's the wrong question. The real question is this: what is Buddhism trying to awaken in us that no label can truly capture? I remember the first time I heard the phrase, Buddhism is a religion that's not really a religion. It sounded like a riddle, or maybe even a trick. But as I began to walk the path, not by faith, but by curiosity, I slowly began to see why that paradox holds such truth. Unlike most religions, Buddhism doesn't tell you what to believe. It doesn't ask you to accept a creator, a heaven, or even a soul in the traditional sense. Instead, it quietly invites you to observe, to investigate your own suffering, and to wake up, not in the next life, but right here, right now. It's not a religion in the Western sense, where belief is often the centerpiece. It's more like a science of the mind, a psychology of liberation, or a way of living that goes beyond the labels of sacred and secular. In this essay, we will walk together through the essence of Buddhism, not as an academic topic, but as a living experience. We will explore why the Buddha never claimed to be a god or savior. How Buddhism centers around seeing rather than believing. The radical idea of non-self, anatta, and how it dismantles ego. Why Buddhism is both a path of deep compassion and fierce clarity. And how we, in this modern age, can live its truths without needing to convert. This is not just a philosophy for monks in the mountains. It is for anyone who dares to question the noise of the world and the illusions of the mind. So come, let us begin this inner journey, not to find new answers, but to remove the illusions that blind us to the truth we already carry. Part 1: Buddhism without belief. In most religions, belief is the foundation. You are taught to believe in a God, a sacred book, a divine judgment. Salvation comes after death, and your place in eternity is determined by what you believe today. But Buddhism, strangely and beautifully, begins somewhere else. It begins with not knowing. It begins with a question, not an answer. The Buddha himself said, "Don't believe anything just because I said it. Try it for yourself. See what is true." That alone separates Buddhism from almost every other spiritual tradition. There's no doctrine to swallow whole. No blind faith to demand loyalty. No divine authority handing down decrees from above. Instead, the path of the Buddha is like a mirror. You don't worship the mirror. You use it to see your own face more clearly. The Buddha as a human being, not a god. One of the most striking things about Buddhism is that the Buddha is not a god. He never claimed to be divine. He didn't perform miracles to prove his power. He simply awakened, and then taught others how to do the same. That humility, radical, quiet, and powerful, is at the very heart of Buddhism. To see this clearly, imagine a man who discovers a hidden spring deep in the forest. He drinks from it, finds peace, and invites others to come and drink too. He doesn't ask you to believe in the spring, he just points the way. You can come, see for yourself, and if the water is pure, you will know it by its taste. This is the spirit of Buddhism, direct experience over abstract belief. And so, when people ask, what do Buddhists believe, the answer isn't simple. Because it's not really about belief. It's about practice, about insight, about transforming how you see the world. In fact, Buddhism often encourages you to let go of belief, especially the kind that causes clinging, ego, and suffering. A religion of freedom, not fear. Most religions have rules. They warn of punishment. They offer rewards. There is heaven for the good and hell for the bad. But the Buddha's teachings don't traffic in fear. Instead, he speaks of causes and conditions. You suffer because there is ignorance. You awaken because there is insight. Everything flows from the mind, not from a judgmental deity. In this way, Buddhism is more like a map than a commandment. It doesn't say, obey or perish. It says, if you walk this path, you will see for yourself what suffering is, and what ends it. It respects your freedom. It assumes your intelligence. And it trusts your inner capacity to awaken. I remember visiting a Buddhist monastery for the first time. No one asked me to believe in anything. The monks didn't talk about salvation or damnation. They just sat. In silence. In stillness. Radiating a kind of peace I couldn't explain. And something in me knew, this is not belief, this is being. That moment changed me. Not because I converted to Buddhism, but because I began to understand what it means to live awake. From dogma to dharma. The Buddha offered no dogma. What he offered was dharma, the law of nature, the way things are. Like gravity, it doesn't need you to believe in it to work. It just is. And once you align yourself with that truth, life begins to make sense, not because someone told you, but because you saw it directly. To live by the Dharma is to live in harmony with reality. It is to see the impermanence of things, the emptiness of ego, the interconnection of all beings. And from that vision, compassion flows naturally, not because you are trying to be holy, but because you can no longer separate your suffering from the suffering of others. That is not religion in the traditional sense. That is wisdom. That is love. Part 2, The Illusion of the Self, Anatta. If there is one idea in Buddhism that challenges everything we've ever been taught about ourselves, it is anatta, the doctrine of no self. In most of our lives, we operate on one deep assumption, I exist. There is a me, a consistent, solid, independent identity behind every thought, every feeling, every action. We say things like, I am happy. I am angry. This is mine. This is who I am. But the Buddha looked directly into the nature of mind and saw something astonishing. There is no fixed I to be found. What we call the self is just a collection of constantly changing processes, sensations, thoughts, memories, emotions, all arising and passing away. It's like looking for the wave and realizing it is nothing but water in motion. Who are you, really? Ask yourself, who are you, really? Are you your body? But the body changes every moment. Cells die and regenerate. The face you see in the mirror today is not the face you had 10 years ago. Are you your thoughts? But thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. One moment you're happy, the next you're anxious. How can something so fleeting be the essence of who you are? Are you your memories? But memories are selective and unreliable. And if you forget something completely, does that part of yourself cease to exist? So then, who, or what, is this I? The Buddha taught that clinging to the illusion of a fixed self is the root of all suffering. Because once you say, this is me, you begin to defend it, protect it, fight for it. You take things personally. You become afraid of death, afraid of loss, afraid of being wrong. But if there's no fixed self, then there's nothing to protect. Nothing to lose. Nothing to fear. What remains is just life unfolding, moment by moment. Thoughts without a thinker. Feelings without a feeler. A river flowing, but no permanent self standing in the middle of it. And when you truly see this, not as an idea but as an insight, it is liberating beyond words. The ego, a beautiful lie. The ego is seductive. It whispers, you are separate. You are special. You are in control. But look closely, and that voice is not steady. It shifts constantly depending on your mood, your health, your surroundings. Today, you feel confident. Tomorrow, insecure. One compliment can make your day. One insult can destroy your peace. Is that freedom? The Buddha's insight was radical because it didn't ask you to reject the ego. It asked you to see through it. To realize it's not you, but just a mental habit. Like a costume you forgot you were wearing. And when you loosen your grip on that costume, something remarkable happens. You become more spacious. More open. More alive. You are no longer trapped in me versus them, success versus failure, past versus future. You are just here, not as someone, but as presence itself. I remember sitting one evening under a Bodhi tree replica at a retreat, and for a brief second, the thought arose, there is no one here thinking. And instead of panic, there was peace. A wide, quiet peace. The ego had stepped aside, and what remained was simply awareness, like the open sky. That was the first time I truly felt what anatta points to, not as philosophy, but as freedom. Compassion without borders. When the illusion of self begins to dissolve, compassion naturally flows. Why? Because if there's no solid boundary between me and you, then your suffering is not separate from mine. Your joy touches me because it is not foreign. We are not strangers wearing different names and faces. We are one vast unfolding, waves rising and falling in the same ocean. And so, Buddhism doesn't ask you to believe in compassion. It helps you to become compassion. Not because it's morally good, but because it is the most truthful response to a world without separation. Part 3, Impermanence and Emptiness, Anicca and Sunyata. Nothing lasts, and that's okay. Everything changes. This sounds simple, almost obvious. But truly understanding it changes everything. The Buddha called this anicca, impermanence. Everything you love, everything you fear, every situation, every emotion, every life, is in constant motion. Nothing remains. Not your youth. Not your sadness. Not even your pain. This isn't poetry. It's reality. But we resist it. We want things to stay. To freeze the good times. To lock down happiness. To protect those we love from change. And that's where suffering is born, in clinging to what cannot stay. Have you ever held a sunset and begged it not to fade? Or wanted a perfect moment with someone to last forever? But of course, it doesn't. It can't. Because reality flows like a river, not like a painting. Buddhism doesn't say that impermanence is a tragedy. In fact, it's the source of freedom. Because if nothing is fixed, then you are not stuck. No mistake is eternal. No feeling lasts forever. No identity is final. You are fluid, like life itself. The tool. Meditation. The method. Mindfulness. The result. Waking up. What is meditation, really? Meditation is not about escaping life. It's about entering it more deeply. You sit down. You breathe. You listen. You don't try to silence the mind, that's a myth. Instead, you observe it. You learn its patterns, its habits, its tricks. You notice, there's the anxiety again. Hello. I see you. You don't push it away. You don't judge it. You don't fix it. You just be with it. And something miraculous begins to happen. When you stop resisting your mind, it starts to soften. When you stop feeding your thoughts, they lose their grip. When you bring kind attention to your inner world, your suffering becomes understandable, manageable, sometimes even beautiful. Mindfulness, the art of coming back. Mindfulness, or sati, is the heart of Buddhist practice. It simply means paying attention, on purpose, in the present moment, without judgment. Sounds easy. Try doing it for 5 minutes. You'll see just how wild the mind is. 1 minute you're breathing. Next, you're replaying a conversation from last Tuesday or imagining a problem that doesn't exist yet. But here's the beauty. Every time you catch your mind wandering and gently return to the breath, to the moment, that is the practice. That is the training. That is the path. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just coming back, again and again. Come back to the breath. Come back to your body. Come back to now. And over time, you build a muscle, the muscle of awareness. You begin to live more awake, less reactive, more grounded, less lost. The Eightfold Path, a map for the journey. So how do you actually live this out? The Buddha laid down a clear, structured path, the Noble Eightfold Path. Not commandments. Not dogma. Just guidance for a life of awakening. It's divided into 3 parts. 1. Wisdom, panna. Right view, understanding the nature of reality, impermanence, suffering, and no self. Right intention, cultivating kindness, non-harming, and renunciation of craving. 2. Ethical conduct, sila. Right speech, speak truthfully, kindly, meaningfully. Right action, live ethically, don't kill, steal, or harm. Right livelihood, earn a living in a way that supports peace, not harm. 3. Mental discipline, samadhi. Right effort, guard the mind. Feed good states. Let go of harmful ones. Right mindfulness, be present in body, feelings, thoughts, reality. Right concentration, deepen your meditation. Focus. Still the mind. This is not a ladder you climb. It's more like a circle, each part supporting the others. A rhythm for a mindful life. The inner revolution. When you live like this, not clinging to self, not resisting change, not running from your mind, something quietly, gently begins to shift. You stop being a prisoner of your desires and fears. You stop living in stories and begin living in reality. You start responding to life, rather than reacting. This is awakening. Not a lightning bolt. Not fireworks. Just a slow, steady blooming. Like a lotus rising from the mud. The practice is the path. Some days, meditation will feel blissful. Other days, it'll feel like sitting in a storm. But the point is not to feel good, the point is to be real. To stay. To return. To see clearly. As one monk said, the practice is simple. But not easy. And yet, this simplicity contains everything. Part 5, Living Buddhism, Compassion, Liberation, and Beyond Religion. Dharma is not on the cushion, it's in the world. You don't practice mindfulness just to get good at sitting. You practice so that you can be present in your life, in traffic, in heartbreak, in laughter, in washing the dishes. You don't study impermanence to sound wise. You do it so that when your loved one gets sick, or when things fall apart, you can meet reality with grace instead of resistance. You don't meditate to escape life. You meditate to live with clarity, with courage, with compassion. That's the whole point. Compassion, the natural fruit of insight. Once you really see the suffering in yourself, not as a flaw, but as part of being human, something opens. You start to realize, everyone is carrying something. Everyone is hurt in their own way. Everyone is trying to be okay. And from this, compassion naturally arises. Not because you're trying to be a good person, but because you understand. The Buddhist word for this is karu, compassion that's wise, grounded, and active. Not pity. Not sentimentality. But a fierce, steady tenderness. When you see yourself in others, whom can you harm? Compassion, then, isn't just a feeling. It's a way of being. It's how you talk. How you listen. How you vote. How you build systems. How you forgive. Liberation, not in the sky, but in the heart. In Buddhist terms, liberation, or nirvana, isn't some mystical place you go after death. It's a quality of mind, a way of being, that you can touch right now. It's what happens when you stop clinging. When you stop making war with reality. When you stop identifying with every thought and emotion like it's your identity. It's a quiet joy. A freedom that doesn't depend on circumstances. A stillness that can exist even in the middle of grief. This liberation doesn't mean you become detached like a robot. It means you're more human, not less. More available. More awake. More alive. Buddhism, not a religion, but a mirror. At its heart, Buddhism isn't asking you to believe in anything. Not in a creator God. Not in a holy book. Not even in Buddha. It simply invites you to look. To observe. To experiment. To test everything, especially the teachings, against your own direct experience. As the Buddha said, don't believe what I say just because I said it. Try it for yourself. In this sense, Buddhism is more like a mirror than a map. It doesn't give you answers. It shows you what's already here. It reflects your mind, your habits, your beauty, your confusion, and says, look at this clearly, kindly, bravely. Beyond labels, the living Dharma. You can call yourself Buddhist, or not. You can chant in Pali, or speak from your heart. You can sit in robes, or in jeans. None of that matters. What matters is, are you more present than you were yesterday? Are you more kind when you speak? Are you more honest with yourself? Are you more free from the stories in your head? If yes, you're walking the path. Because Buddhism is not a thing to believe. It's a way to be. Final reflections, what this path offers. Let's be honest, life is not easy. People die. Hearts break. Bodies fail. We lose jobs. We lose trust. We lose parts of ourselves. And yet, there is a way to live through all of it with open eyes and an open heart. There is a way to walk through fire without being consumed. There is a way to face impermanence, and not just survive, but grow, soften, and shine. That way is not found in a temple, or in a book, or in another country. That way is already inside you. The Buddha didn't give us something foreign. He pointed us back to our own mind, our own experience, our own heart. He reminded us, you already have what you seek. You just need to remember. To wake up. To live it. So here we are. We've explored the essence of Buddhism, not as a belief, but as a living, breathing path. A path of mindfulness. A path of compassion. A path of liberation, not in another world, but in this one. And in walking this path, we don't become perfect. We become real. We don't float above suffering. We learn how to walk through it, with grace, with awareness, with love. So may you walk gently. May you return often. And may you wake up, again and again, to the beautiful truth of your own life.